When it comes to plants, I have a simple philosophy about it really. Imagine a world, if you walk down the street there were no street trees. Imagine there wasn't a park. Imagine there wasn't any hanging baskets. Imagine there wasn't any woodland. Right, if you took all of that out of the equation, if you took greenery out of the equation, it wouldn't be a world worth living in really. And I think that even if I don't want to encourage, everyone's not going to be a gardener, but to get everyone to recognise its importance, just for their own personal pleasure, let alone the wider picture, I think that's, that's something to be shouted about. It's a story that needs telling, without a doubt. The good thing about being a gardener is you can meet people in a variety of different environments in different parts of the world, or even down your local pub, and you start to speak about what you know and what you're interested in, and they can't help but get infected with it. These are epiphytes. They grow on the trunk of this lovely tree fern here, but you see it in rainforests or damp forests all over. In fact, on Mount Cameroon or in Western Africa, you'll get one tree, a chef lyra, at high altitude, will have up to 600 species of other plant living on it. Pipers, maybe orchids, ferns, all growing on the one plant. So in a way, you could spend all your time just studying that one plant all in itself. I think the British are on the whole, quite eccentric. And I think gardening is a reflection of that eccentricity. It's in our culture. If you look at our poetry, our art, all these kind of things that are ingrained in us, horticulture plays a big role in it. And I think that 250 odd years ago, 200 years ago, collectors went out, collected these plants, brought it back, and it became a big buzz, a big wave of excitement. And that is ingrained in us and who we are. Because we only have, I think, about, I'm not totally accurate on this, but I'm pretty close, 46 endemic types of plant. So if you didn't go out and collect, our landscape would look a hell of a lot different to what it does at the moment. Predominantly you'd have woodlands, you'd have oak, beech, you'd have holly, you'd have plants like that, but you wouldn't have this massive array that we've brought into our towns and that also have gone out to conquer our countryside in many ways. Now when the collectors collected, they collected in big numbers and brought them back to big gardens like this, but their influence goes much further and you can find a lot of their plants in their own small back gardens now. And this is Nipophia, or red hot poker. You see them everywhere now. Gardeners have bred them and bred them and bred them. There's lots of different types, and it just shows you all that time ago how influential the collectors were. All these plants have a story to tell. They've got economic uses, ornamental uses, and they've come from all over the world. And they were collected by men who put their lives in danger. They fell off cliff faces, they were even gored by bulls. And let's face it, we just take it for granted. We look at it, we don't think about it, we don't understand what these men have given us and how important it is today. I maybe on the surface look like a bit of a Millwall fan that got lost or gone astray, but inside my mind is plants. I walk down the road thinking there's Fagus sylvatica, there's Ilex aquifolium, there's rhododendron. I'm completely absorbed in Cotoneaster horizontalis, all these plants that we're surrounded by, constantly running through my mind. So yeah, I'm a paradox, but that's the way I've been snatched and absorbed by plants. I did a bit of TV earlier this week, I'll just tell you this story, on Islamic television. And there was a blonde girl interviewed me and I was talking about conifers. She had no interest to that moment in gardening whatsoever. When we left the studio, she was actually saying, I want to go home and do some gardening now. There is my job done.